This is written and directed by Alice Wu, whose previous work I'm unfamiliar with. And I'm gonna be honest, on the surface this looked kinda bland to me. In fact, had it not been so well received, it's the kind of movie I would have probably passed on. Not because it looked bad, just kinda bland, uninspired, middle of the road kinda thing. And I also wasn't a huge fan of the basic premise here, because it just seemed a little bit silly. But what is the basic premise, you ask? Well, the story here is about a straight-A high school student in a small town who makes some money on the side writing papers for her classmates. No problem so far, but then she gets tasked with writing a love letter for one of the boys, because he's not good with words and expressing his feelings, and she is. Which of course leads to some romantic drama and all sorts of complications. And that whole situation just seemed a little contrived to me. However, to the movie's credit, surprisingly enough, it didn't end up bothering me in the slightest, not even a little bit. Nor did really anything else about this movie, because I really enjoyed it. It's well written, well directed, well performed, and overall just has a certain charm to it. It also felt kinda refreshing, to be honest, mainly because of how small scale and down to earth it was. It kept things simple and didn't overcomplicate it. In fact, most of this just features 3 characters. And those 3 characters felt refreshing too, because they're teenagers. But unlike a lot of teenagers in movies, they're not angsty or over dramatic. There are also not really any bullies or bad guys in this. I mean, I guess a little bit, but those parts are almost non-essential, and the focus is clearly on these 3 characters. And all of them are just nice, kind, and very sympathetic people, you know? And that I would say is very rare, and not only in teen movies, but in movies in general. To have a cast mainly consist of nice, friendly characters who also come across as authentic. They still seem like real people and not like some kind of saints or anything. And as a result, this movie ends up being very sweet and it has a lot of heart to it. Without feeling sappy or anything like that, it found a nice balance. And while the movie itself says it's not gonna be a love story, it absolutely is. It's not a romance, but it is most definitely a love story, and as far as the story goes, I mean, I immediately could see it going either one of 2 ways, but was hoping it would surprise me. And in a way I guess it did, because it didn't go either of those ways. It actually found a way to do both things. Which means I pretty much still saw all of it coming from a mile away. Essentially from the very beginning when the whole thing was set up. But guess what, that didn't bother me in the slightest either, because this was just so enjoyable to watch. In fact, it was one of the most effortless movies I've seen in a little while now. Time just flew by watching it, and I don't think there was a single dull moment in it. So yeah, what seemed to me like a rather bland and mediocre movie on the surface turned out to be a very well made one, and a very pleasant surprise too. And I can't really find anything to complain about, because even the issues I found didn't really bother me. Which speaks volumes for how much I actually ended up liking it and how engaged I was by it. But does that mean I would recommend it? Yeah, definitely, go check it out. Or, I mean, you could also not do that, after all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.